Hey you guys, Tracy Jackson here, the tax savvy nurse, here with another video. As I told you guys, I was going to outline some rules for creating a tax home using your parents' home. Okay, so a lot of people want to know because I have younger nurses who may have been living with mom and dad and they don't have a home. Or like a mortgage or are renting somewhere, anything like that, and they're traveling. So these are for the travel nurses who want to know, how can I legitimately make a tax home in the area in which I live or are from, so that I can legitimately get these tax-free stipends. Because again, if you watch my previous video, if you do not have a real tax home, you do not qualify for tax-free stipends, and you do not want to be at risk for having to pay pay that money, or pay taxes on that money. So for example, I'll just give you an example real quick. If you didn't have a legitimate tax home, and a lot of times nurses are making, $50,000 in tax-free income, right? So most of their income is tax-free. So let's just do the math. If you're taxed at about 30, excuse me, I have a bad cough, guys. If you're taxed at about 30%, that's going to be $15,000, right? So it could potentially be a lot of money that you could owe the IRS if you don't legitimately have a tax home, right? I drilled this in on my last video. It is so important. There's 3 rules that you want to make sure you abide by, at least 2 of them, to cover yourself. So if you don't have a home that you're duplicating expenses on, that was rule number 2 that we talked about, and you're living with your parents, these are the steps you want to take. So let me just say real quick, I should have said before, if those of you that don't know me, if you're new to this video or new to my channel, my name's Tracy Jackson, and I am a nurse, but I'm also a tax professional. So I'm not a travel nurse, just so you guys know. But because I get a lot of questions from travel nurses, and they have a sticky, interesting, complicated tax situation, I've just been drawn to work with them. So that's where these topics are coming from. And I want to make sure that I help them in the best way possible. So what I do is I help nurses and health professionals with their tax situations, help them to really structure themselves to pay the least amount of taxes, especially for those that have businesses. And if they don't have a business, then you guys know that that is something that I preach, that nurses definitely need to have a business. So let's jump right into it. Using your parents' home, or it could be a friend, a family member. Let's say you're from Maryland. I always use that because that's where I'm from, but you could be from wherever. Let's say you're from Maryland, and my mother's in Maryland, and I want to use her home. So what you want to do is you have to duplicate expenses. You have to be paying mom something every month. So in my case, my mother lives on her own, but if you have mom and dad, then that's 2 people in the home. In general, you want to pay a third of that cost with them. You want to split it if it's mom and dad. For me, with my mother, we would want to split costs. So let's say for her mortgage, let's say we take the mortgage and an energy bill, or just the mortgage. Let's say her mortgage is $2,000, right? Then I would want to be paying $1,000, right? Or what you could do is you can look up what the fair market value is of renting, a space or sharing a home in that area. So I would look up, my mother's in Odenton, so I would look up fair market value to rent a room, or for a 1-bedroom rent in Maryland or in Odenton. Okay, you could look it up on Craigslist, you could look it up or you could Google it. I'm sure there's other sites that'll give you a fair market value. Okay, does that make sense? You have to pay fair market value on your home that you are saying is your tax home in Maryland, in my case, or wherever state you're from. All right, so you want to be having monthly or giving monthly payments to your mom or family member, whoever it is. Now, if they own the home, that's no problem. So if they don't have a mortgage, then what you would want to do is take, like, I'm sure they pay like taxes, county or city taxes, homeowners insurance, and like the energy bill, like a bill that they're paying on the house. You can take that and split those together. So let's say all that together is maybe, $1,000 that they're paying in monthly. Then you will split that in thirds between mom and dad, okay? All right. So you would pay a third of the cost. That is your fair market value for maintaining your space in that home to make it legitimate. So now you're paying part of the taxes, part of the homeowner's insurance, and part of the bills in that home. So there you go. That's your tax home. Okay. But if you're not paying anything, or you're just paying $50 to mom, I had one nurse say that she doesn't pay them anything, but she pays for them coming to travel to see her. That's not maintaining a home. That's just helping mom and dad out. So you actually have to document that, and we'll talk about that. So that's number one. All right. Monthly payment, fair market value to mom and dad or family member. So the next part is you will want to draw up an agreement. So just Google like a sample of a lease agreement. Now, it's not like 100% required, but this is if you want to be really sound in your situation. It doesn't have to be notarized by a lawyer or anything like that, but just write up something that shows what your contractual agreement is with that family member for you paying them rent, okay? And you can find a sample one and just copy that and have both of you sign it, okay? And then keep that for your records. Records are important. Now, I did have someone ask me, well, would mom and dad have to report that as income? And yes, they would. Still have to, report that as income on their tax return. So make sure that they understand that, and they set aside, a certain amount. It could be different depending on how much other taxable income they have, but they will want to, set aside a small amount of that, could be 20%, 15%, whatever, for them having to pay taxes on that. Sorry, my voice is gone. All right, so just FYI on that one. And then we talked about it in the last video, but you want to stay in that home for 30 days, at least 30, I'd say 30 to 45 days-ish during the year. So each year, come back to that tax home with mom and dad, take a travel, not a travel, take a work your job. Hopefully you have something that you can do there, agency assignment or PRN job. Keep a PRN job there. Sometimes people will go back and forth like every quarter or every month, to maintain a PRN job in their tax home. So that shows that you haven't abandoned your tax home, and that's one of the rules, right? So you keep coming back to that home and you're still generating income there. And then the last thing, you guys know I'm a freak about documentation. You have to document, right, that you are coming back home. So keep those receipts that you're buying food or going to work, or mileage, that you're paying for gas. During that 30 days, you want to keep those receipts, because if you are ever audited and the IRS says, well, I don't see you really, maintaining a home in your tax home, you can pull out those receipts and say, yes, I was here, here's the dates. Try to keep a trail during that 30 days and save those receipts. I recommend using a software to track your receipts, and I did a video on this. It's called, I think I called it Best Tracking Expense Tracker for Nurses or something like that, if you go on my YouTube channel. But definitely watch that, because you want to be organized when you are on these assignments, and when you are having to justify the meals, the travel, the housing and all of that, payments that you're paying to your parents for maintaining that home. Oh, the other thing is, don't pay them in cash. Make sure that it is a trackable way, so you can, you know, PayPal or do a transfer, wire transfer, or whatever, some kind of electronic payment to your parents, or cousin, family member, how, okay, whatever. So just make sure it's trackable and you keep track. But if you need something to help you keep everything in line, I recommend using taxbot. There's other tools like Hurdler, or you can even just do a spreadsheet, but a spreadsheet doesn't allow you to attach receipts. I like the taxbot because you can take pictures of your receipt. So I'll try to post a link, put a link for that, or you can just go to taxbot.com. It's like 10 bucks a month or something. So it's my favorite tool, and I did a video on it, so you can go watch it. So that's pretty much it on using your parents' home or creating a legitimate tax home if you don't have one. Okay, so if you have questions, again, this is not complete tax advice to where you just go and take everything that I specifically said and say that you have to do it. Just consult with your tax professional who normally does your taxes, a CPA or a professional. Make sure it's that. Make sure it's not a mom or a friend or cousin that's just doing your taxes. They may not be aware of the tax rules. Not saying they're not competent, but you definitely want to have someone who has an understanding of the tax rules. If you don't have one, please reach out to me. You guys know that I just love to help and educate people. I am a nurse, so I do taxes with care, right? I do them with love. And so just schedule a consultation. I'll put my calendar link below, and we can talk, and you can tell me your personal situation, and I can make sure that you're on the right track, give you any information. If I don't know the question, I will make sure that I find it for you, okay? So I'll have more videos coming up soon on tax homes. I'm going to probably keep talking about that for the rest of the month. There's lots of other topics. You can go to taxsavvynurse.com to if you want more information on me, or Tax Savvy Nurse business page on Facebook, or you can find me on YouTube, Tax Savvy Nurse. That's my name everywhere. All right. So thank you guys for watching. Love you guys so much. Look forward to talking with you, and I'll see you on the next video.